very good afternoon, ma'am. So in today's director series, we have a pertinent question for you regarding boardroom governance issues. We understand that you conduct director induction and familiarization programs in client companies and serve as an independent director in several sizable companies. We also know that you are a strong advocate of such programs. So just posing some pertinent questions for your views, as it is very crucial to raise awareness about this topic in today's complex business scenarios. So what do you think is directors induction training?
So Ria, it's a very crucial corporate governance and board governance issue. And you yourself know that I'm a strong advocate of this director's induction training program because I think it's a foundation of corporate governance. This poses a very important question in my mind that if the director is not properly trained at the time of induction, how can he effectively execute his duties? In today's ever-changing complex business environment. And so it is not possible for a director to execute his roles and responsibilities without knowing, understanding the company organization and its operating environment. So basically, director induction program is, familiarizing the newly appointed director about the organization, about his operating environment, about his organization structure, about the board structure, how the decisions are taken on the board, who are the colleagues on the board, what are the committees, what is the risk matrix of that particular company, what products the company are manufacturing, specialized in. So in short, it is making aware about what the working of the organization of the company as a whole. And I always think it is a two-way process. Like if the director needs to know the organization also needs to know a director. And these two factors to be taken into consideration while framing any director induction policy.
Why is it so crucial?
So Ria, as far as my practical experience and even the research goes, that ineffective director induction, is a major gap in the governance process across the industries. So though it's a very straightforward process, but majorly the board fails, to implement it effectively. So if a director is not properly trained, or it is the process of induction is not properly adopted by any company, as per as the specific needs of the company and a director, then there will be a lack of understanding, lack of engagement, lack of confidence, lack of expertise in the boardroom, and which will obviously diminish the board performance to a much extent, affecting the interest of the stakeholders at large. So I think it is very crucial, and all the companies and even the directors who are proposed to be appointed as an independent director, executive director, any organization to take it very seriously.
Please share your practical experience about this.
So Ria, as you know that we are associated with many corporates in different capacities. I myself as a strong advocate of these training programs, and we also support the boards in formulating this director induction policies and framing the director induction programs. But over and large, what I feel is that the companies are just taking this as a one-off compliance activity, and and the importance is so undermined. The companies and even the directors who are proposed to be appointed, they are not able to understand how important is this foundational training is for them. Basically, if you see, this is my personal experience, if you take out the 50 familiarization policies of 50 companies, you will see that 40 to 45 companies are having the same uniform policy. So how it is possible? If a director is different, the company is different, the company operations are different. Obviously, the needs will be different. Obviously, you need to have a unique policy, the unique structured policies and programs for directors. But this is a major lacking, and I think this is a non-negotiable. The directors induction program and policy should be unique for every company, taking into consideration the director's need as well as the organization need. Then only it will be effective. Otherwise, it's just a one-off compliance, activity for the companies. And even the directors, they don't take it that seriously. For many directors, it's a power position, it's a grant position, and they want to, it's a part-time job for them, and they want to build up that CV. So they are not much bothered about, having a training for performing their duties. But without getting a proper training, I don't think so any director can perform their duties effectively, because they should know what they're bound to do. They should know what are the gaps, which they need to fill up. So that is all about the training.
So what happens when companies do not have a structured unique directors training program for directors at the time of their induction?
So how, see, I already told that it's a two-way process, right? So if a director needs to know about the organization also needs to know about a director. What expertise a director have right now? Now suppose if a company secretary is placed on the board, so I can have an expertise in corporate governance, I can have an expertise in legal issues, I can have an expertise in company law matters. But it is not necessary that I'm a financial expert. So there is a gap actually, and the organization has to trace out that gap and structure a unique training program for me in such a way that my gaps, the skills which are missing, is filled up. So that when I am on the board, I am director ready. I know have a proper understanding. I am properly engaged, and which will add up to the collective decision making process of the company.
So in company, whose responsibility is it to design and implement directors induction training?
So, foremost responsibility is of the chairperson along with the company secretary. So they both can, have a primary responsibility of, designing the induction programs and framing the policies. I think they are jointly responsible for that.
What is your advice to boards for director induction training programs?
See, what I advise to the boards is that they should take this induction programs very seriously. I think the regulators has made director induction program for a specific companies, but as far as my view, it should be compulsory for all the companies. Wherever the directors are there has to be compulsory training program. Because most of the director does not know what they are bound to bring on the table, what they are bound to perform. So that is very important. So these director induction policies should be reviewed every year by the board, and a specific programs has to be designed. Even the ongoing trainings has to be designed in such a way. So it's a collective process. It is a collective work which the board has to do. Separate budget should be allocated, for this type of programs. If the board is not able to design the program or the policy, then they should hire corporate governance experts for designing the induction programs and policies for them. So I think the board has to work a lot. It should be a major agenda, even once a year on the board to discuss.
Ma'am, what are the steps to be followed by the companies for directors induction training?
This is a very important question here. So what we have seen in practical is that when the director is proposed to be appointed on the board, the company secretary calls that newly appointed director and a brief about the company, then sends the copy of the memorandum, articles of association, bylaws, board charters, committee charters, and some of the basic information, last 3 years, annual reports and all that. But you think that this limited information is sufficient for a director to perform on the board his duties and responsibility effectively? So I always guide the board that there has to be a proper systematic process for the induction of a director. First of all, it should be pre-appointment stage we call that the chairman has to send the appointment letter and which congratulating him, and the process of induction should be mentioned properly in that appointment letter. Then comes a stage when you ask for the declarations, for the consent and for the disclosures, which is required in the regulations from a newly appointed director. Then the chairman should, call a newly appointed director. He should introduce, that's the introduction stage. He should introduce, with the other fellow directors and the KMPs and other important staff of the organization. Explain him what is the working, how the organization works, and what is the operating environment of the company. Then after that, the director has to complete the development and skill matrix. Now this development and skill matrix is a very important instrument. It has to be designed properly, what is expectations of the board from that particular director, what skills are required. So by filling and completing that development and skill matrix, even the newly appointed director will be able to analyze his strengths and weaknesses. And when it is analyzed by the board, then the board can also, analyze at what gaps the board needs to fill, for training that particular director to be a board ready. So I think it's a two-way process, which is, and in that completing the two-way process, this index is very important. So it has to be drafted very properly. If the board is not able to do it, if anybody expert in the organization is not do it, so better take advice and support of a corporate governance consultants who are expertise in this. But every company should have this development and growth matrix. So after it is completed, the board analyzes the gaps, and then the board decides, how to formulate a unique training program for that particular director. If within the board they are not able to train properly, I always advise to go for the external agencies who are corporate governance experts, even the company secretary, chartered accountants, lawyers. They all are, many good firms are providing these services. And then a proper structured, unique induction program for that particular director should be framed, and his training should be started. It's induction training should be started. After that, you can provide him the reading materials. He can read the constitution of the company, the board charters, committee charters, articles, memorandum, the risk reports. He can go to the website of the company, and IT systems, what are the communication style in the company. That all documents, the reading materials can be provided to the director for reading. Then the organization tool can be arranged. Organization tool, register office and plants, or where major centers, branches, of the particular company. That organization tool can be managed for that particular director. Even nowadays, a company is also sponsoring the good governance courses for this newly appointed director. And I've seen that even the major stakeholders, they are also involved in giving the induction training, to this newly appointed director. So yes, I think there has to be a proper induction process in the company. It should not be a compliance, a one-off compliance activity that, and it has to be both-sided. And the director who is appointed should be sensitized that what is bound to ask, from the company before the appointment. And even it's a responsibility of the board to train, to provide a proper induction program. It is a legal responsibility to the newly appointed director. And this is non-negotiable actually. So lastly, mentoring. I think this is also one of the very important and best way to train a newly appointed director. Suppose if I am a company secretary and I am placed as independent director on the board of an organization. So I'm an expert in handling corporate governance matters, legal matters, matters relating to company law. But it is not necessarily that I am a financial expert. So a director who is having financial expertise, can become my mentor for training me in the financial matters. He can fill up the gap, and then I can be a board ready, being a part of the board decision making process.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your enlightening and valuable inputs to all of us. I hope this will help companies to formulate unique, customized director induction training programs for effective participation of directors in decision-making processes of the board. So it is indeed a serious exercise and not a one-off compliance activity.
Just to conclude, Riya, just my 2 pointers. One is, I always believe that though the regulators has prescribed this directors induction program for a specific companies, but I believe that it should be compulsory for all kind of entities where the directors are there. This is to be a mandatory part, like opening a bank account, providing the drinking water. This directors training should also be mandatory for all the companies and for all the directors before taking a board seat. And it has to be done for protecting the interests of the stakeholders at large. Because if there is a tone in the top, you can expect that the organization works properly. And secondly, besides all this, regulatory compliances, which is increasing day by day, one of the very crucial, metrics, which I think, which can be used by the regulator to evaluate the board performance and the quality of the decisions taken on the board, is analyzing the directors induction policies of the companies and the frequency, of the trainings, which these companies impart to the directors during the year. So I think this is very important. This can be one of the assessment metrics for the regulators also and for the stakeholder interaction.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.